In the picturesque and remote Sierra Nevada town of Keddie, California, nestled among towering pines, a crime unfolded in 1981 that would shock the nation. What happened inside Cabin 28 on the night of April 11th remains one of the most haunting mysteries in American history. This is the story of the Keddie Cabin Murders, a case so brutal and perplexing that it continues to baffle investigators and captivate true crime enthusiasts to this day. It was a quiet Saturday evening. Glenna Sue Sharp, a 36-year-old mother of 5, was at home in Cabin 28 with her teenage daughter Sheila, her sons, 15-year-old John and 12-year-old Rick, and Rick's friend, 12-year-old Justin Smart. The family had moved to Keddie only a year prior, seeking a fresh start after Sue's divorce. But instead of finding peace, Sue and her children became the center of a horrific tragedy. Sheila Sharp, the eldest daughter, had been staying the night at a neighbor's house. When she returned to her family's cabin on the morning of April 12th, she discovered a scene straight out of a nightmare. The living room was covered in blood. The bodies of her mother, Sue, her brother John, and John's friend Dana Wingate lay lifeless, bound with medical and electrical tape. They had been bludgeoned and stabbed repeatedly. The brutality was so extreme that investigators struggled to determine the exact sequence of events, but the horror didn't end there. 12-year-old Tina Sharp was missing. A search for the young girl was launched immediately, but days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into years with no sign of her. The question of what happened to Tina added an even darker layer to an already chilling case. Then, 3 years later, in 1984, a human skull and part of a mandible were discovered at Camp 18, a desolate area near Feather Falls, roughly 50 miles from Keddie. Forensic analysis confirmed the remains belonged to Tina. Her disappearance and gruesome death only deepened the mystery. From the start, the investigation was plagued with issues. Leads were overlooked, evidence was mishandled, and potential suspects were allowed to slip away. One of the most significant pieces of evidence, a chilling anonymous call, was never properly documented. The caller identified the remains found in 1984 as belonging to Tina, but this crucial piece of information wasn't uncovered until decades later when the tape of the call was found buried in an evidence box. As the years went by, suspicion began to fall on 2 men, Martin Smart, a neighbor and the stepfather of Justin Smart, and John Bowbady, a friend of Smart's who had ties to organized crime. Both men were reportedly staying in a neighboring cabin on the night of the murders. In 2016, new evidence surfaced that cast further suspicion on Martin Smart. A letter he had written to his wife shortly after the murders contained a chilling line. "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives." Even more damning, Smart reportedly confessed to his counselor that he had killed Sue and Tina, claiming Tina had been murdered to prevent her from identifying him. Despite these statements, Smart was never formally charged and passed away in 2000. Then there was the discovery of a hammer in a local pond, one that matched the description of a hammer Smart claimed to have lost. Investigators believed this hammer was intentionally disposed of, further linking Smart to the crime. Another twist came in 2018 when DNA evidence recovered from a piece of tape at the crime scene matched a known living suspect. Investigators have not publicly named this individual, but they continue to pursue leads in the case. The current team of detectives has been vocal about the mishandling of the original investigation, with one stating, "You could take someone just coming out of the academy and they'd have done a better job." The cabin itself, where this unthinkable act of violence occurred, was demolished in 2004. But the memories of what happened there linger in the minds of those who seek justice for the victims. To this day, the Keddie Cabin Murders remain unsolved. Was it a crime of passion, a botched robbery, or something even darker? The truth may lie in the evidence that was overlooked or mishandled all those years ago. For now, all we have are questions, and the hope that one day, the full story of what happened that fateful night in Cabin 28 will finally come to light. On January 2, 1935, a man checked into the hotel president in Kansas City, Missouri. He signed the guest book as Roland T. Owen and requested an interior room, reportedly to avoid the view. Described as neatly dressed and carrying no luggage, Owen was shown to room 1046. Over the next few days, hotel staff and guests would report a series of odd occurrences involving Owen, culminating in one of the most chilling and perplexing unsolved cases of the 20th century. On the morning of January 4th, the hotel's switchboard operator noticed that the phone in room 1046 had been left off the hook. When a bellboy, Randolph Probst, was sent to investigate, he found the door locked from the inside. After several attempts, Probst finally gained entry, discovering Owen sitting in a chair, seemingly dazed in the dimly lit room. The phone was off the hook on the floor. A few hours later, the same issue occurred. This time, when staff entered, they were horrified by what they found. Owen was lying on the bed, bound at the wrists, ankles, and neck with a cord. Blood stained the walls, bed, and even the ceiling. His body bore multiple stab wounds to the chest, one of which had punctured his lung. He also suffered severe head trauma from repeated blows, leaving a skull fracture. Despite his horrific injuries, Owen was still alive. Dr. Harold Flanders of Kansas City General Hospital was called to the scene. After cutting the cords that bound Owen, he asked, "Who did this to you?" Incredibly, Owen replied, "Nobody." When asked if he had attempted to kill himself, Owen said no, but quickly lost consciousness. He was rushed to the hospital but died shortly after midnight on January 5th. Police immediately launched an investigation, starting with the room itself. Oddly, there were no personal belongings. The closet and drawers were empty, and even the soap, shampoo, and towels provided by the hotel were missing. The only clothing item found was the tag from a New Jersey-made necktie. There were also strange clues: a broken glass in the sink, a safety pin, a hairpin, an unsmoked cigarette, and a bottle of diluted sulfuric acid. Detectives discovered 4 fingerprints on the room's phone, small enough to suggest they belonged to a woman. The case was officially ruled a homicide due to the nature of Owen's injuries and the lack of any weapon in the room. Police interviewed other guests, including Jean Owen, who had stayed in the room next door. She reported hearing loud voices and noises coming from room 1046 late in the night. However, her account offered no substantial leads. It was soon discovered that Roland T. Owen was a pseudonym. Despite widespread media coverage and police efforts to identify him, no family or friends came forward to claim the body. Months later, a break in the case came when a local funeral home planned to bury the body in a pauper's grave. They received an anonymous call and money to cover the funeral costs, with instructions to ensure that Owen received a proper burial. Flowers were also sent anonymously, with a card that read, "Love forever, Louise." To this day, the true identity of Roland T. Owen and the circumstances surrounding his brutal murder remain unsolved. Was he the victim of a crime of passion, a mob hit, or something even more sinister? The mystery of Room 1046 continues to baffle investigators and intrigue true crime enthusiasts around the world. And so, the case of Roland T. Owen leaves us with a haunting question. How could someone be brutally murdered in a bustling hotel, leaving behind only questions and whispers in the dark? In the quiet town of Eufaula, Oklahoma, the Jamison family, Bobby, 44, his wife, Sherilyn, 40, and their 6-year-old daughter Madison, sought a fresh start. They dreamed of purchasing a 40-acre plot near Red Oak, about 30 miles away, envisioning a new chapter in their lives. On October 8, 2009, the family embarked on a trip to explore this potential new homestead. Home surveillance footage from that day revealed the couple making several silent trips between their house and their vehicle, methodically packing their belongings. Their movements appeared trance-like, and at one point, Sherilyn was seen placing a brown briefcase into the truck, a briefcase that has never been recovered. Days later, their abandoned pickup truck was discovered in Latimer County, a short distance south of Kinta. Inside the truck were the family's ID cards, wallets, mobile phones, a GPS system, and approximately $32,000 in cash. Their loyal dog, Maisie, was also found inside, malnourished but alive. The presence of such a large sum of money, along with their personal belongings, deepened the mystery. The search for the Jamisons continued for years without significant leads. Then, in November 2013, hunters stumbled upon skeletal remains of 2 adults and 1 child in a remote area of Latimer County, less than 3 miles from where the family's truck had been abandoned. Due to the advanced state of decomposition, it wasn't until July 3, 2014, that the remains were positively identified as those of Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison Jamison. Unfortunately, the cause of death could not be determined. Several theories have emerged over the years. Some speculated that the Jamisons had faked their own deaths or entered witness protection. Others believed they were murdered or had died by groups. Adding to the intrigue, it was revealed that Bobby had been involved in a bitter lawsuit with his father, Bob Dean Jamison, alleging threats and violence. However, police do not believe Bob Dean Jamison was involved in the family's disappearance. Another theory suggested that the Jamisons were involved in drug activity, given the large amount of cash found and their reported strange behavior before their disappearance. The family had also confided in their local pastor about seeing spirits in their home, and Bobby had allegedly been reading from the Satanic Bible, leading some to consider more supernatural explanations. Despite extensive investigations, the true circumstances surrounding the disappearance and deaths of the Jamison family remain unknown. Their story continues to be a haunting mystery, leaving many questions unanswered. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more mysterious stories, true crime cases, and more. Until next time, please stay safe out there, and as always, stay curious.